Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Bo-chan.
I'm Nimacum.
I'm Van-chan.
In this class, I'll read all of you a part of Ulysses,
S.
L.
Ulysses, James Joyce. Chap 17 Sect 7. With what intonation secreto of what commemorative psalm? The 113th. Modus peregrinus in exiguus roda Egypto Thomas Jacob de Populo Barbaro. What did each do at the door of egress? Bloom sat the candlestick on the floor. Stephen put the hat on his head. For what creature was the door of egress the door of ingress? For a cat. What spectacle confronted them when they... First the host, then the guest, emerged silently, doubly darked, from obscurity by a passage from the rear of the house into the penumbra of the garden. The even tree of stars hung with you midnight blue fruit. With what meditations did Bloom accompany his demonstration to his companion of various constellations? Meditations of evolution increasingly vaster, of the moon invisible in incipient nation. Approaching perigee of the infinite latiginous scintillating uncondensed Milky Way. Discernible by daylight by an observer placed at the lower end of a cylindrical vertical. Shaft 5,000 deep sunk from the surface towards the centre of the earth of Sirius of Uncanny's made and light years 57. 0. 0. 0. 0 miles distant and in volume 900 times the dimension of our planet of Arcturus. Of the precession of equinoxes of Orion with Belt and Sextupus and Theta and Nebula, in which 100 of our solar systems could be contained, of moribund and of nascent. New stars such as Nova 1901 of our system plunging towards the constellation of Hercules of the parallax or parallactic drift of so-called fixed stars. In reality, a moving wonder is from immeasurably remote eons to infinitely remote futures in comparison with which the years 70 of allotted human life formed a parenthesis of infinitesimal brevity. Were there averse meditations of involution increasingly less fast? Of the eons of geological periods recorded in the stratifications of the earth of the myriad minute entomological organic existences concealed in cavities of the earth, beneath removable sterns, in hives and mounds, of microbes, germs, bacteria, athely, spermatozoa of the incalculable trillions of billions of millions of imperceptible molecules contained by cohesion, of molecular affinity in a single pinhead of the universe of human serum constellated with red and white bodies, themselves universes of red space constellated with other bodies, ether, in continuity, its universe of divisible component bodies of which each was again divisible in divisions of redivisible component bodies, dividends and divisors of are diminishing without actual division till, if the progress would carry far enough, not nowhere was never reached. Why did he not elaborate these calculations to a more precise result? Because some years previously in 1886 one occupied with the problem of the quadrature of the circle he had learned of the existence of a number competitor relative degree of accuracy to be of such magnitude and of so many places, e.g. the ninth power of the ninth power of 9, that the result having been obtained. 33 closely printed volumes of 1,000 pages each of innumerable quires and reams of India. Paper will have to be requisitioned in order to contain the complete tale of its printed in digits of units, tenths, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions. The nucleus of the nebula of every digit of every series containing succinctly the potentiality of being raised to that most kinetic elaboration of any part of any of its pores. They define the problems of the inhabitability of the planets and their satellites by our race, given in species, and of the possible social and moral redemption of said race by a Redeemer. Zero of solution of a different order of difficulty. Conscious that the human organism, normally capable of sustaining an atmospheric pressure of 19 tons, when elevated to a considerable altitude in the terrestrial atmosphere, suffered with arithmetical progression of intensity, according as the line of demarcation between troposphere and stratosphere was approximated from nasal hemorrhage, impeded respiration and vertigo. When proposing this problem for solution, he had conjectured as a working hypothesis, which could not be proved impossible, that a more adaptable and differently anatomically constructed race of beings might subsist otherwise under Martian, Mercurial, Annual, Jovian, Saturnian, Neptunian or Uranian sufficient and equivalent conditions, though an approaching humanity of beings created in varying forms with finite differences resulting similar to the whole and to one another, would probably there as here remain unalterably and inalienably attached to vanities of vanities, and to all that is vanity. And the problem of possible redemption, the minor was proved by the major, which various features of the constellations were in turn considered. The various colours significant of various degrees of vitality: white, yellow, crimson, vermilion, cinnabar, their degrees of brilliancy, their magnitudes revealed up to and including the seventh, their positions, the Wagoner star, Walsingham away, the chariot of David, the annular cinctures of Saturn, the condensation of spiral nebulae into suns, the interdependent gyrations of double suns, the independent synchronous discoveries of Galileo, Simon Marius, Heidi, Leverrier, Herschel, call out the systematizations attempted by Bode and Kepler of cubes of distances and squares of times of revolution, the almost infinite compressibility of hirsute comets and their vast elliptical aggressive and reentrant orbits from perihelion to aphelion, the sidereal origin of meteoric stones, the Libyan floods on Mars about the period of the birth of the young gastroscopist, the annual recurrence of meteoric showers about the period of the feast of Is, Lawrence Martyr, 10 August, the monthly recurrence known as the new moon with the old moon in her rounds, the positive influence of celestial on human bodies, the appearance of a star, first magnitude of exceeding brilliancy dominating by night and day, and illuminescence generated by the collision and amalgamation and incandescence of two non-luminous suns about the period of the birth of William Shakespeare over Delta in the recumbent visiting constellation of Cassiopeia, and of a star second magnitude of similar origin but of lesser brilliancy, which had appeared in and disappeared from the constellation of the Corona Septentrionalis about the period of the birth of Leopold Bloom, and of other stars of presumably similar origin which had effectively or presumably appeared in and disappeared from the constellation of Andromeda about the period of the birth of Stephen Dedalus, and in and from the constellation of Origus some years after the birth and death of Rudolf Bloom, Schuner, and in and from other constellations some years before or after the birth or death of other persons, the attendant phenomena of eclipses, solar and lunar, from immersion to immersion, abatement of wind, trances of shadow, taciturnity of winged creatures, emergence of nocturnal or crepuscular animals, persistence of infernal light, obscurity of terrestrial waters, power of human beings. His Bloom's logical conclusion, having weighed the matter and allowing for possible error, that it was not a heaving tree, not a heaving grit, not a heaving bust, not a heaving man, that it was the utopia, there being no known method from the known to the unknown, and infinity renderable equally finite by the supposititious supposition of one or more bodies equally of the same end, of different magnitudes and mobility of illusory forms immobilized in space, were mobilized in air, a past which possibly had ceased to exist as a present before its probable spectators had entered actual present existence. Was he more convinced of the aesthetic value of the spectacle? Indubitably in consequence of the reiterated examples of poets in the delirium of the frenzy of attachment, or in their abasement of rejection, invoking ardent sympathetic constellations, or the frigidity of the satellite of their planet. Did he then accept as an article of belief the theory of astrological influences upon sublunary disasters? It seemed to him as possible of proof as of confutation and the nomenclature employed in its stenographical charts as attributable to verifiable intuition as to fallacious analogy the lake of dreams, the sea of rains, the gulf of dews, the ocean of fecundity. What special affinities appeared to him to exist between the moon and women? Her antiquity in preceding and surviving successive Tellurian generations, her nocturnal predominance, her satellitic dependence, her luminary reflection, her constancy under all her phases, rising and setting by her appointed times, waxing and waning, the forced invariability of her aspect, her indeterminate response to an affirmative interrogation, her potency over affluent and refluent waters, her part to enamor, to mortify, to invest with beauty, to render insane, to incite to any delinquency, the tranquil inscrutability of her visage, the terribility of her isolated, dominant, implacable, resplendent propinquity, her omens of tempest and of calm, the stimulation of her light, her emotion and her presence, the admonition of her creatures, her at seas, her silence, her splendour, when visible, her attraction, when invisible, what visible luminous sign attracted Bloom's? Who attracted Stephen's gaze? In the second story rear of his Bloom's house, the light of a paraffin oil lamp with oblique shade projected on a screen of willow blinds supplied by Frank O'Hara. Widow blind, curtain pull and revolving shutter manufacturer, 16 Angier Street. How did he elucidate the mystery of an invisible attractive person? His wife Marion Molly Bloom, denoted by a visible splendid sign, a lamp, with indirect and direct verbal allusions or affirmations, with subdued affection and admiration, with description, with impediment, with suggestion. Both then were silent. Silent. Each contemplating the other in both mirrors of the reciprocal flesh of Therisnothes Philophes. Were they indefinitely inactive? At Stephen's suggestion. At Bloom's instigation both. First Stephen, then Bloom. In penumbra urinated, their sides contiguous, their organs of mecturation reciprocally rendered invisible by manual circumposition. Their gazes. First Bloom's, then Stephen's, elevated to the projected luminous and semi-luminous shadow. Summary. The trajectories of their first sequent, then simultaneous. Urinations were dissimilar Blooms longer. Thus it went. In the incomplete form of the bifurcated penultimate alphabetical letter, who in his ultimate year at Hayes School 1880 had been capable of attaining the point of greatest altitude against the whole concurrent strength of the institution. 210 scholars, Stephen's higher, most sibilant, who in the ultimate hours of the previous day had augmented by diuretic consumption and insistent vesical pressure. What different problems presented themselves to each concerning the invisible audible collateral organ of the R. To Bloom, the problems of irritability. To Miskins, rigidity, reactivity. To mention, synederiness, pellicity. To Stephen, the problem of the sacerdotal integrity of Jesus circumcised 1 January. Holiday of obligation to hear Mass and abstain from unnecessary servile work, and the problem as to whether the divine purpose, the carnal bridal ring of the Holy Roman Catholic Apostolic Church, conserved in Kolkata, were deserving of simple hyperbole or of the fourth degree of lature accorded to the opposition of such divine excrescences as hair and toenails. What celestial sign was by both simultaneously observed? A star precipitated with great apparent velocity across the firmament from Vega in the Lyre. Above the zenith, beyond the star group of the Tress of Uranus towards the zodiacal sign of Leo. How did the centripetal remain at 40 degrees to the centrifugal departure? By inserting the barrel of an originated male key in the hole of an unstable female locked, obtaining a purchase on the bow of the key and turning its wards from right to left, withdrawing a bolt from its staple, pulling inward spasmodically an obsolescent unhinged door and revealing an aperture for free egress and free ingress. How did they take leave? One of the other, in separation, standing perpendicular at the same door and on different sides of its base, the lines of their valedictory arms, meeting at any point and forming any angle less than the sum of two right angles. What sound accompanied the union of their tangent? The disunion of their respectively centrifugal and centripetal hands. The sound of the peal of the hour of the night by the chime of the bells in the church of St. George. What echoes of that sound were by both and each heard? The late Rudulantium. Chimussucundit. Jubilantium te virginum. Chorus excipit. Hario. Ohio. Where were the several members of the company which with Boone that day at the bidding of that Peel had travelled from Sandamount in the south to Glasnevin in the north? Martin Cunningham in bed, Jack Parr in bed, Simon Didlus in bed, Ned Lambert in bed, Tom Kerning in bed, Joe Hines in bed, John Henry Menton in bed, Bernard Corrigan in bed, Hassie Dignam in bed, Petty Dignam in the grave. Lone. What did Bloom hear? The double reverberation of retreating feet on the heaven-born earth. The double vibration of a Jew's harp in the resonant lane. Lone. What did Bloom feel? The cold of interstellar space. Thousands of degrees below freezing point or the absolute zero of Fahrenheit. Centigrade or warmer, the incipient intimations approximate dawn. Of what did both time and Hentouch and Footstep and Luncho remind him? Of companions now in various manners in different places different, perceived in golden action. Mada Rivo. Philip Gilligan Facies. Jervis Street Hospital. Matthew Rafe. King Accidental Drowning. Dublin Bay. Philip Moisel Piemel. Heightsbury Street. Michael Hart Facies. Major Misericordia Hospital. Hatrick Dignam Apoplexy. Sandamount. What prospect of what phenomena inclined him to remain? The dispersion of 3 final stars. The diffusion of daybreak. The apparition of a new solar disk. Had he ever been a spectator of those phenomena? In 1887, after a protracted performance of charades in the house of Luke Doyle, Kimmage, he had waited with patience the apparition of the diurnal phenomenon. Seated on a wall, his gaze turned in the direction of Mizrach, the east. He remembered the initial power phenomena. More activer. A matutinal distant Cork. Ecclesiastical clocks of various points. I've in music. The isolated tread of an early wayfarer. The visible diffusion of the light of an invisible luminous body. The first golden limb of the resurgent sun perceptible low on the horizon. Did he remain? To be continued.